My husband Seamus was attacked on the 7th of December 2009, and he suffered brain injuries, and he died as a result of those injuries 2 days later. This happened in London, where we lived. He had decided that he was going to go down to a pub called the Shanachie. At some point in the evening, my son, who'd been out with his friend, learnt that Seamus was down there, so he went down and met up with him. Fergal had bumped into the perpetrator, and I think there were some words inside. They decided that they were going to go home, and as far as we can make out, Seamus had walked on ahead and then realised that Fergal wasn't coming behind him and had come back, and he found Fergal unconscious outside the pub, and Fergal's friend Simon was also unconscious. Seamus went towards Fergal to help him up off the ground, and as he was doing so, he was punched in the face. And the evidence that the forensic scientist gave, or whatever the doctor was called, gave, he said it was a force 10 punch, and it fractured Seamus's cheek, and the blood then blocked his airways, and the air ambulance was called, but that wasn't available, so they had to wait for the ordinary ambulance to arrive, and he was taken unconscious to hospital. When I went in, he was, hooked up to life support. He was very bruised. Where the injury on the brain was, they couldn't operate. At that stage, Seamus's case was being treated as grievous bodily harm, I think. But then when he died, it then became a murder inquiry. It was very hard to sort of put the whole sequence of events together, and that you never had a chance to say goodbye, because you'd lost that time to prepare for somebody dying that you always think you're going to have. The police had said that they probably wouldn't get a murder conviction, but they had expected a manslaughter conviction. The perpetrator then was found not guilty. He's found not guilty of all the charges, including murder, because he was still prosecuted for murder. And he was found not guilty of grievous bodily harm on Fergal and on Simon. Although I didn't feel that him being convicted was going to make any of us feel any better, at the same time, if he'd had a conviction, even if it was for manslaughter and it was only for 6 months of a sentence, even if the sentence had been suspended, it would still have been an acknowledgement that he had killed Seamus. After I was back here in Ireland and we had submitted the compensation claim forms, Fergal got his result first, and they had turned him down for all compensation. It was worded in such a way as to imply that Fergal had in some way contributed to Seamus's death. I just felt that was very unjust. I contacted victim support in Derry, and the first person I spoke to was Una, and she was very sympathetic and listened to my story, and then they took my case up from there. Well, victim support were a big emotional crutch, as well as being a very practical service. They dealt with all the forms, they dealt with the criminal compensation claims people, they listened, to to what I had to say, and you know, they were non-judgmental, and you really felt that you had that they were on your side, and that they were working for you, and that they were there to support you, and that they were going to do their best for you. When the story of what's happened to you is so raw, and you're sort of telling it to people for the first time, it drags up all the emotions, and it drags up all the feelings and the hurt. You know, had I known how difficult it could be, I think I would have been in touch with them a lot sooner, and I was certainly very glad that I did get in touch with them here in Derry, and very glad of all the support that they were able to give us.